Welcome to the Mini Transat Mission, an offshore sailing podcast. I'm your host, Peter Gimsna, and this is episode number 6. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode where we talk all things related to the Class Mini 650 and the Mini Transat. It is Wednesday evening, August 16th, 2023, and it is my last full day here in Annapolis, Maryland before I fly back to France. Less than 40 days until the start of the Mini Transat. Now let's get right down to the main topic. We have our first interview. Is with someone who has been part of this campaign from the very beginning, before I found the boat, or knew what the Mini Transat even was. This person has sailed about 1,000 nautical miles on the boat terminal leave, holds the most U.S. sailing instructor trainer qualifications, or at least that I know of from other people, and is a volunteer mentor with the Magenta Project, is the basic sail training director at the U.S. Naval Academy, and she is my incredibly supportive girlfriend. It is Jane Millman. Oh my gosh. Welcome on for the first interview, Jane.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for having me.
All right, how are you feeling? You ready for some intense questions here?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm so ready.
All right, so I know your full story since we've been together for almost 4 years now, but can you please tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up in Wisconsin, sailing on inland lakes there, but very short seasons when I was growing up. Moved to Florida and went to University of South Florida in Tampa, and quickly became a member at Davis Island Yacht Club and raced dinghies primarily there, international fireballs, and enjoyed that a lot and had a great time. And then also started managing sailing programs while I was there. Started with the Davis Island Youth Sailing Foundation, a nonprofit community program run out of Davis Island Yacht Club, and from there moved up to Beverly Yacht Club in Marion, Massachusetts for a summer and ran their program as their sailing director, and then landed in Annapolis, Maryland just over 8 years ago, and as the sailing director for Annapolis Yacht Club. Did that for 3 years, absolutely loved it, and wanted more of a challenge, and then was promoted to clubhouse manager to open a brand new $13 million facility with a pool and a restaurant and a bar and a snack bar and a fitness center. And did that for 2 years before I missed the water so much that I made the jump back to sailing director and went over to the Naval Academy. And I've been there for about three years now, managing the basic sail training program, where the program primarily runs in the summertime, where I have a team of 20 civilian instructors that trains a team of 55 newly graduated seniors from the academy. We teach them how to sail, and then they in turn teach the 1,200 incoming freshmen how to sail for the summer. So it's a big operation, hosted on a fleet of 30 Colgates. We're out there twice a day, all summer long, but it's like the military, so it runs smoothly and mostly on time. But it's a lot of fun to be out there and to see the progress that everybody makes throughout the summer.
No, that's great. And I do know a little bit about that for anyone that's listening, because I have been working for Jane's program at the Naval Academy this summer. And today was my last day of work for her, since obviously I'm going back to France tomorrow. So, no, that's a great little recap of your previous career with sailing and everything with directing. So, no, it's perfect. So let's get into the mini talk here now. Going to start with a tough one here real quick. So first question, do you remember your first sail on number 837 terminal leave? Before the name of the boat was even on the boat.
Yeah. I remember the first sail on terminal leave, or 837 back then. We took the boat out on a September day. And
what year was this?
2020, right? Yeah. 2020. Yep. And there was barely any wind. But we made it out into the bay here in the Chesapeake, and just kind of floated around and just kind of like played around with the different systems on board and kind of got used to it. We put up the code 0. Back then it still had the carbon mast and rigging, and so it was a little bit different. We had a different sail, and put up the code 0, and we're just kind of drifting along. I thought the best part was when we had your cousin Amy and her husband David showed up on their powerboat in support and took pictures of us. And so that was some of the first photos we have being on terminal leave, floating. So That was cool. It was not exciting at all. Like nothing thrilling about it.
I mean, minis in light air is really tough. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like kind of hazy too. If I remember, it was a very gray day. So there wasn't really anything like thrilling about our first sail on Terminal E.
Except for getting the boat and getting it out of the water for the first time with just us. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So let's fast forward a little bit. So can you describe a little bit about those first few months with the boat, what they were like, and starting the campaign and kind of launching this whole Mini Transat campaign from Annapolis with this new boat that we just got? What that experience was like?
Yeah. It was a lot of legwork to start with. So the boat was not class legal when you bought it, and so there was a lot of work to
well, let's rephrase it. It was class legal. The stuff on the boat.
Prototype. Yeah. So the boat is class legal itself, but it had a carbon rig and a carbon rigging, and so that was not class legal for the series that we want to race in.
Exactly.
And the boat itself is totally class legal. And so, but it also had the old name on the side. And so that took us many, many nights at Jabin's Yacht Yard in the fall, trying to scrape the name off the side of the boat. And then once we finally got it off, solid white hull, it looked really nice. And then that progressed further into the winter months where we're fully working on the campaign, starting your logistics for when you're going to go to France, still dealing with COVID, being a big factor in trying to figure out if we can even get you to France and when, but then also playing in the factor of you're transitioning off of active duty. So you're still going to at this point, you're still going to the Pentagon daily, leaving at like 3:30 in the morning to get there by 4:30 or 5 to start a day. So you can hopefully get back earlier. Or go to class.
And go to night class. Night class for the master's program. Yeah.
And then somewhere in there, try and fit in working on boat projects. And I remember some cold winter days where there's ice on the covers of the boat. I think that's really when I knew I loved you. It was like February and there's layers, like sheets of ice. We had a lot of ice storms that winter. And there's sheets of ice on the boat cover. And we're like taking all the ice off the boat just so we can like work on it in the freezing cold months. And then we design a gin pull to drop the rig, which worked. We almost made the wrong cut. We almost made a wrong cut. But then I looked at my math again, and thank goodness we didn't. And it works.
With that gin pull we still use. I just used that to lower the mast back in May before I came back here.
Yep. Yeah. There's a cool video you have on your YouTube page about that. But yeah, so the A-frame gin pull, which worked great. And I think your fellow RG 650 sailor is going to use it as well soon. So
he actually just dropped the mast yesterday.
Oh, he did?
He did it a different way with 2 other boats side by side. But he could have used the gin pull.
He could have used the gin pull.
Yeah.
So, but
which that's also different with this class. I think one thing that people don't realize is a lot of times it's easiest to drop the mast on these boats with one mini on either side, and you use the lines, the halyards run up to the top of their mast to help drop it, which is, I feel like, much different from a lot of other boats, but it's so common over there for the minis.
Yeah. And I mean, we could do it with other boats here, but a lot of the boats we sail here are deck stepped.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't make sense. Yeah. Whereas we have the keel step mast on all the minis, and so you need that extra leverage pulling up. So, but yeah, and then packing up the boat.
Yeah, that was a lot.
And then starting the whole fundraising. And so that initial process and what that looks like, and making connections and creating event flyers and setting up events and hosting events and speaker series. And
it's everything also too, from boat work to planning, coordination to creating a logo design and making a website and all the things that go into the admin side behind the scenes for the campaign. It's really a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't always get to see. Yeah. But there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And you are a big part of every step of that way.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Another part of my background history is I worked for West Marine for 15 years. I started working there when I was in high school and then transferred the job down to Florida and continued working that full time while I was in college. And so that job really provided me with a really wide knowledge base of different boat parts and how things work and how to repair things. And so I think that made things a little bit easier, like knowing what we need at a certain point, rather than spending hours and hours of research on different things. But then also the different networks that I have in the marine community, or industry, and then also the sailing industry. So I remember reaching out to, you mentioned my U.S. sailing certification, so reaching out to the then U.S. sailing president, Corey Sertle, and she wrote a wonderful letter of recommendation for you to the French government to try and get that visa, that special exception during COVID to get you into the country. So fortunately, it did work.
Yeah.
France wasn't letting anybody in.
That was really hard to get into the country at the time.
That was very difficult. But
eventually got in, but it was not easy though. It was not easy.
Not easy. No. So, but it was just, it was fun to connect to some people in my sailing network and community that I hadn't talked to, especially because of COVID, really hadn't seen or talked to for a long time. And so it was fun to reach out to them and to make them aware of what you're doing and raising awareness for U.S. Patriot sailing. So
no, absolutely. Which was also great because you did get to spend a lot of time with the U.S. Patriot sailing team members, and you even did some things like helping out with boat work on the side, and I know we were dropping the rig one time, putting up the rig on one of those boats. You were there and came out on a power boat and took some pictures of the team. And yeah, so I know you've been there for the campaign here and then also with U.S. Patriot sailing along the way too. So I know that was a really busy winter with the first winter with the boat. We, just for clarification, we bought it at Eastport Yacht Club, brought it over to Jabin's, also in Annapolis. And then in the spring, we drove the boat on the trailer up to Baltimore, put it on one of those big car-carrying ships or roll-on, roll-off ship, and had the boat shipped from Baltimore all the way across to Europe, which I think it was supposed to go on the ship on Monday, but I think it was Thursday or Friday, I got an email saying, hey, all the ships just got rerouted because of the Suez Canal blockage. Yep. And so I remember being at the Pentagon on that Thursday and Friday at work trying to coordinate, which, by the way, at the Pentagon, your cell phone doesn't work inside the building because it's so thick. So you had to go outside all the time, coordinate a new ship, a new port. So instead of going to France, I ended up going to Belgium first. Had to get put on a flatbed truck from Belgium, then shipped to France, all within a couple of days before, putting it on the ship. Yeah. And then so we had to drive it up there on that Monday, drop it off. It was not easy to ship it. Yeah. But if we were to do it again, it would definitely be a lot easier the second time around. But I think everything between the COVID restrictions and the Suez Canal blockage with another ship just really made everything a little more complicated. Yeah. But we got the boat over there.
Yes, we did. I think one of the best decisions we did make in shipping the boat, though, was we shrink wrapped it.
Yes.
We paid to get the whole boat shrink wrapped so that everything was covered and we knew it was protected, and we didn't have any questions about like what shape the boat was going to look like. Yeah. Because I had friends that had shipped boats before, for their boat captains for other boats, and one of the boats that they shipped sat under a crane that was like leaking like rusty or like hydraulic fluid, and it was all over the deck of this very, very expensive race yacht. And so it was good to know that like we knew everything was there and we didn't have to worry about it showing up and being dirtier than when we left it and making more work for ourselves.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I went over there, met up the boat, eventually got back into France. The boat beat me to France before I could even get permission to get in. Yeah. I eventually got over there, did a couple races, and then you ended up joining me there for a couple deliveries. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that experience. And can you kind of talk about through your initial time sailing on terminal leave offshore, off of France, what that was like for you and what places we went to?
Yeah. So that, so let me think. So that was like August of 21. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So August of 21, I flew over to France and I met up with you in Le Trinité-sur-Mer, and we left Le Trinité and sailed up to Kinsale, Ireland. So we had about 350 miles from France, and it was
across Bay of Biscay, English Channel, Celtic Sea, off to Kinsale.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 350 miles, but that's a tough 350 miles sometimes, depending on the weather conditions.
It was wild because I remember coming up to the English Channel, to the entrance, the TSS and everything. And so we're avoiding the TSS, but you can see these ships lining up from miles and miles out on the AIS. And at one point I can see 4 very large, like 1,000-foot ships, in a line going into the English Channel. And I'm thinking, I'm like, and we're on a heading where I'm like, oh man, I can make it between these two ships. Like, we're doing good. Like, like, we need to make this. And then the better judgment got the good hold of me and said, no, let's go behind. Which was,
those ships are going fast.
They're going much faster than you think. And then also, like, what if the wind dies? We aren't using the motor, like, we're just sailing. So definitely went behind all four of them and continued on. But it was a very, I don't think we had a moon for that delivery. I just remember it being very, very dark.
It was dark. It was foggy. I think we had a lot of fog too. Fog and a lot of like moisture out there.
Yeah. It was cold. It was like damp, cold, like dark delivery. And that's when we were doing 2 on 2 off watches, hour watches, and that was like my first like serious case of hallucination, where I'm on watch, driving, like on watch. I mean, the autopilot's driving the whole time, but just making sure there's no other ships, and we're somewhere in the Celtic Sea, and the bowsprit is out with the code 0 furled but pulled down on deck, and I am hallucinating that there is a gargoyle out on the bowsprit, and then the jib, this nice beautiful black jib, I'm seeing the Grim Reaper in the black jib. Is a very dark hallucination. I don't know where it came from, but and then there is definitely something or somebody sitting on the opposite of me in the cockpit in the stern, like at the stern pulpit. And it like I tried to fight it off for a long time, and it finally got to the point where I had to wake you up.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Peter, I can't,
what's going on right now?
Somebody's help. Like, just tell me I'm not crazy. Like, there's no gargoyle, there's no Grim Reaper, there's nobody else in this boat but you.
Which I think part of that was you just flown over, basically flew over and got right on the boat to go sailing.
Oh yeah, we left the next day.
Yeah, so less than 12 hours after you got there, yeah.
So I had jet lag, and had been traveling and just came off of working the whole summer at Navy. Like, I was being on the water every day. So it was, I think I was just mentally and physically just pretty run down.
Yeah, which happens, but at least you woke me up though and let me know, hey, something's not right now. And
so I can only imagine what it's like when you don't have somebody there to like wake you up, or for you to wake up and be like, hey, I need you to check me real quick and make sure this is not true.
Well, I think that's part of the interesting thing about solo sailing is you kind of have to ask yourself, am I okay right now? Risk management. Should I get more sleep right now? Are there a lot of boats around? How do I, when you get to that point, which I've gotten to that point, I've gotten beyond that point. How do you come back from that point and say, okay, I need to set myself up for success so that doesn't happen to me, or I don't continue that happening? Because that's where it gets really dangerous.
Yeah. And that's what's wild, because like I haven't had to think through further of how I would have handled that situation without you on board. Because I prefer to have somebody else on board while I'm sailing. Solo sailing's for you, but sailing together is for me. So, but yeah, so that's wild. I often think of that, like how you have to deal with that.
So we did that 350-mile delivery. Mm-hmm. You helped me out with a few boat projects. We went around part of Ireland.
Oh, but we also had the most beautiful sail into Kinsale.
Oh, that's true.
Do you remember? It was a bluebird day, and it was like 65 degrees out, nice rolling waves, like just cruising into Kinsale. And we saw 59 North.
Yeah, we saw Andy Schell and his boat coming out of the harbor. Yeah,
and we were sailing into Kinsale. And
that was awesome.
Yeah, it was just a beautiful day, like the most like beautiful welcome that we could have had sailing into Ireland.
Which shout out to 59 North and Andy Schell. If you want to listen to another great podcast, they're on the Wind Sailing podcast is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's one of the podcasts I started listening to when I started getting back into sailing when I was going to the Pentagon every day. And I was I had like an hour and a half commute initially by taking the metro because I couldn't drive. I couldn't park there. So I'd take the metro, and I was just killing podcasts every day and just
crushing them.
Yeah. It was just a lot of podcasts. And so I was listening to a lot of his. So when we actually saw them coming out of Kinsale, it was just awesome. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and you guys had like emailed back and forth a few times before that.
So he knew. So when he saw the boat, he was like, "Oh, wait a second, that's Peter." Yeah.
And so like we're hollering at each other.
Oh, and he was actually helping us, giving us recommendations on how to clear customs to go in there too. Yes. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, which that was interesting.
Yeah.
With Ireland, but so that was a great time. And then we had a nice holiday in Ireland. A few days in Dublin. Did some nice tours there, and then had a camper van, which I think that's the best way to see Ireland.
Which the camper van was great because we lived in that at the harbor, like at the marina
Yeah.
where the boat was at. So we were doing boat work all day, and then we'd just sleep in the camper van instead of getting a hotel, or because the hotels are not easy to find around there.
Yeah, they're so far from where we were at the marina. We weren't in the yacht club marina downtown. We were across the harbor. But yeah, we had the shower and the bathroom and small like kitchenette in the camper van.
And then we spent a couple days driving around the island in the camper van.
Weeks,
yeah. No, it wasn't 2 weeks. It was like we had like 5, because we had like a week of boat work, and then we had maybe like 5 days of actually driving.
I guess that was
yeah. But we had the best week of sunshine in Ireland for that drive.
Yeah.
So that was awesome.
Yeah, we had like 2, maybe 1.5, like hazy days.
But everything else was clear.
Everything else was just bluebird.
Yeah.
Like it was absolutely gorgeous, and it wasn't hot. It was
But it was a quick little trip. So then you flew back home. I did my 1,000-mile solo qualification sail, which was from Ireland down to off La Rochelle and Ile de Ré down there, and then back to Ireland.
Yeah.
And that ended up being closer to like 1,200 miles by myself. So my first really long solo sail outside of any of the races, and just me out there. And then you actually end up coming back to help me with the delivery from Ireland back down to France too.
Yeah. I arrived on my birthday in Ireland, or I landed in Ireland on my birthday. You had just arrived that morning. You had just landed back in Ireland that morning.
Yeah.
And I dragged you out to go to dinner for my birthday in Ireland. And then we left the next morning. We had to wait a little bit because the tide was out.
That's true. They put us on a slip of the dock where when it was low tide, the boat was like 6 inches out of water. And so we'd wait for the tide to come up a little bit. But luckily it was soft ground and the boat can handle it. But
it was all mud, but still.
Yeah, we literally got down to the dock. We're like, we cannot leave right now.
We can't even get on the boat. So, but yeah, so
another 350 miles back down to La Trinité-sur-Mer.
Yep, uneventful, which was nice.
We had good speed. We had a downwind sail.
That's right. We had said that was some of the best, like, I think downwind sailing we had.
Yeah.
Like cruising along at like 13 knots just with the A2 up at that point.
I think we had A2. We might have switched to either the A4 or the A5. So basically a smaller spinnaker. Yeah. We had a smaller spinnaker, but we were just cruising down waves and going fast. And I remember going fast. We were probably going 10, 12 knots, and we had the sunset at the same time. And it was just beautiful out.
It was really pretty.
And we were hiking out. That's one of the times where we were hiking out backwards, trying to keep the boat from, pitch bowling over through the waves.
Yeah. Yeah, because we were accelerating.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
All right, so we did that delivery. Mm-hmm. And then the next delivery was the following year that we sailed together.
Last year,
2022, after I did the France to the Azores and back to France race, Le Sable d'Olonne.
Yeah.
So I just finished 2,600 miles of sailing with it was a 1,300 mile leg to the Azores, 2.5 days rest, refit, which 2.5 days is really clean out the boat and prep for the next race, and then restart, and then 1,300 miles back to France. So it was a total of like 24.5 days out at sea. Yeah. And then because the race took so long getting back also, literally the next day after I finished, we had to do the delivery back up to La Trinité, which is about 85 miles.
Yeah.
And so that was super helpful having your help on the boat because I was exhausted at that point. I remember I did not want to leave for the delivery.
I know. I was able to bum a ride out to your finish on the rib that towed you in.
Yeah.
Because I had been there for, I think, 3 days.
Waiting for you to finish.
And then, so I made friends.
Which all the boats took a while, too.
Yeah,
it wasn't just me.
It wasn't just you. It wasn't just you. There were several boats. There were actually a lot of boats that were still waiting to finish. But I had made friends and was able to hop on the rib with the race organizers to go out to the finish line to pick you up. And I remember that's one of my favorite videos of you, like standing on the boat, like you had just dropped the main, you're getting your tow line ready, and we pull up in the rib, and like I'm on the board, and you like don't recognize me at first, and you're like, "Whoa!" Hey.
Yeah, well, I was so out of it, and I was like, "Wait, so Jane, yeah."
You're so out of it, but yeah,
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah, no, that was definitely.
Well, and do you remember why I was so tired going into that delivery?
Yeah, you hadn't had power for 3-4 days at that point?
So I was completely out of power for about 3 days, but I was low on power for at least a couple days going into those final 3 days.
Yeah.
So coming into the Bay of Biscay, I think I remember I was low on battery power with about 650 miles left in the race. And then the final 300 miles, I think I had absolutely no power. Yeah. And I was coming to the Bay of Biscay with no power, which means no AIS, so the ships can't see me, which a lot of ships are around there.
Yeah.
And then all I had was a handheld GPS which I was conserving battery power. So I turned it on for a few minutes, turned it off to conserve battery power. And I just had a flashlight on the mainsail. Mm-hmm. And that's all I had was a flashlight on the main at night, trying to keep people from hitting me. Yeah. And I had all my VHF batteries were dead, or radios were dead, so I couldn't communicate with anyone either. And not awesome, but that's because I didn't have sunlight for like a week and a half, but I really had no sun for about 7 straight days. Yeah. And so there was just no way to charge the batteries because I only had solar battery power at the time. Which, fast forward going to the Mini Transat, I'm going to have a hydro generator on the boat, which we'll talk about that later maybe. Yeah. But to be able to charge when I have no sunlight. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like...
that last delivery, you remember the delivery though from Le Sable d'Olonne back to La Trinité?
Yeah. So you came ashore and I get you, like, you're settled on the dock and we're like walking back to the Airbnb and you're like want to rest, and I have to break the news to you that we have to leave tomorrow morning.
Because I had no idea what even day it was compared to like when we had to leave and go back.
But the biggest part was that there was another low pressure system coming in that we needed to get ahead of, or at least get further north. Otherwise we were just going to get pounded. We were going to get hammered.
We would have had to stay there for at least another 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, we would have been stuck in port, and we didn't have we would have to extend our Airbnb there, and it was going to throw our entire timeline off, because we also had a quick holiday planned after that. Once we got the boat back up to La Trinité, remember we went to Saint-Malo and Normandy?
Oh yeah.
So we had like commitments after, like we didn't. We could have broken that.
Well, part of that was also I can only spend so many days in France, so I also have to get out of France at a certain point before I go over my 3 months maximum. Yeah. But then also we had plane tickets booked, so we had to fly back to the U.S. So everything's basically planned off of the timeline of when do we need to leave France to get back home, because also work requirements too and things like that. So it wasn't just also like we had a little vacation. It was a 2.5 day vacation we planned after that. So even that would have gone out the window. But it was more so the fact that we can't just spend an extra week there. We have to get the boat back. We have to get it hauled out. We have to drop the rig, and put it away for the end of that season too. Yeah. So there was a lot that went into that.
There was a lot. So like
rental van to be able to tow the trailer in the boat. We had a crane. Actually, we had the crane there because we wanted to get the rig dropped really quickly too.
Yes. Yeah, because we needed.
Oh no, maybe that was the previous year.
That was the previous year.
But either way, there was a lot of logistics that go into like why we had to get up there.
We left the rig up this past year.
You're right.
When we showed up in the spring, it was still up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like brought you back to the Airbnb. I let you sleep. Did your laundry. You slept for probably like almost 18 hours.
Well, I was exhausted. Yeah, that was the first time. If anyone reads the recent article that got published in Sail Magazine, that's the start of that article where I basically had to heave to that last night of the race because I was so exhausted that I had to sleep. I think I got like a 3-hour nap or 2-hour nap or something. Yeah. But it's because I was so exhausted and I had to sleep and I had no power, so I had no autopilot. So I was a little tired at that point.
Rightfully so.
I was beyond exhausted.
Yeah. So I let you sleep and did all your laundry and everything, and pretty much packed everything up to throw it back into the boat. We barely even cleaned the boat. Yeah. And then we sailed a pounding 85 miles upwind.
Upwind the whole time.
Upwind the whole
1 to 2 reefs, depending on how it was.
Yeah. That was not...
It was not pleasant.
It was not pleasant. I don't want to say it wasn't fun.
Pounding upwind in heavy wind, heavy seas, wind against tide in a Mini is never fun for anyone.
Yeah. So, but we still didn't have a full charge on the battery, so we're also hand driving.
We were steering a lot. Yeah.
But I tried to let you sleep as much as possible.
But it's also a lot easier for the deliveries because then we also have our phones. We had Navionics on our phone, which, by the way, for the races, I have to turn my phone into the race committee, and I get my phone back at the end because we can't have any sort of chart plotter or Navionics or GPS like that. Satellite communication. We can only have just basically a very basic GPS with lat long. That's all we have. Yeah. So at least the delivery we had Navionics, but we had to hand steer the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. And like in the Navionics were helpful because you have that new wind farm off of the west coast there that we have to.
There's a big wind farm.
I think it's one of the largest ones in the world.
I think so.
That we have to navigate around, but we finally made it home. That was a long delivery. And
then you get home, you're exhausted. Then you got to go right into putting the boat away for the end of the season.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah. It's all part of it. All right, so those are some of the deliveries.
Yeah.
Earlier this spring, in the 2023 season, we completed a double-handed race together. This was our first race on the Mini. And how was that experience different from the deliveries, and how did it go for you?
Yeah, very different from the deliveries. I'm very much, or my like racing history has to do a lot with like inshore racing and buoy racing, and I really like that because I need the competition to be close to like really spark that competitive side of me. So the offshore racing was very different, and like yes, we're all there right off the line into that first drop mark or that first waypoint.
And how many minis do we have on the line there? It had been like 70, I think, right?
It was 84.
Maybe it was 84. Yeah.
It was
okay, it was in the 80s.
It was in the 80s. And so, Madden. But yeah, so we.
Sorry, this is the dog. The dog is whining just sitting next to us.
But yeah, so like we take off from the starting line, and yeah, you have all 84 boats. You're charging towards that drop mark, and then you round the mark, and then that's when things really start to separate. And by the time so the first day, I'm thinking the second day first. So the first day, it was that far upwind leg. Like,
also, do you remember it was supposed to be a 250-mile double-handed race?
Yeah.
And then what did it turn into?
It turned into 2 races. The first one was 50 miles, and the second one was about 100.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, about 100 miles. And so
because of like bad weather coming in.
Bad weather. Yeah. So we stayed on the dock all day Friday. So the first day was a 50-mile day race.
Which is weird because we don't normally do day races on these minis. Everything's always at least an overnight or 2 to 3 nights. So it's weird having a day race in the minis.
It was, but it was kind of nice to like come back to shore, freshen up, like get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Have your gear be dry for the next 100 miles. And like a lot of people broke things that 50 miles.
Well, we saw a cruising boat got dismasted.
Yeah.
So
we had 2 major squalls move through.
Yeah.
While we were out there, and I mean, people broke things all over the place.
But do you remember what happened with us during that squall?
Oh yeah, the reef line was caught around the back of the boom.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't get that second reef in, so we ended up just dropping the main, which was ultimately the right call because we were seeing gusts in the 40s. Right?
I think it was even higher than that. I mean, I think some boats saw in the 50s, I think. Yeah. We probably saw in the 40s or when we were at least looking.
Yeah.
But we ended up just dropping the main instead of trying to fix it. Because trying to go to the end of the boom when it's blowing 40 to 50 knots out there, we just dropped it. It kept on sailing with the jib because it was upwind. Yeah. And just basically went slow and I held onto the mainsail before it blew over just to kind of let the squall pass through. I
mean, going slow, we were still moving at like 3.5, 4 knots with just the jib.
Yeah.
Like it was nuking. Yeah. And trying to keep the boat from rounding up every time. And so it was a lot, but people broke so much.
And you couldn't see anyone around you when that squall came through. It just got completely dark out.
Complete whiteout. Yeah. Oh, whiteout with the rain, but then the dark clouds.
And then dark, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but we came back to the dock and like they had broken a lot of things. And so that Friday gave everybody an opportunity to repair a lot of things to then race again on Saturday, which I think was nice because if that was the start of what was to be a 250-mile race, I think there would have been a lot fewer boats that would have been able to finish.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely. So how did that second part of the race go for you? It was that 100 miles, it was an overnight race.
Yeah.
How did that go?
That race, we had really nice sailing for that. So I thought that was some of the best like sailing conditions we had together sailing. So we took off from that race and we raced around Ile de Goix.
Yeah.
Right? First. And then so we like sail upwind all the way to the northern part of the island, and then we crack off and we set the kite, and I think we had like a 4-hour spinnaker.
Oh yeah, we had a great downwind. I mean, surfing down and trying not to wipe out. It was really on the borderline between switching to the smaller spinnaker.
Yeah, but we kept it up. So the first race, we are going into the whole race weekend. Our goal was to just finish the race and not break anything major.
And why was that important?
Because for the year that you qualify or that you're doing the Mini Transat, all you need to do to finish your last qualification process is to complete one race in the mini class. And this was the race. And so we wanted to make sure you were not going to have a major breakage, that we had the mindset we were going to sail conservatively because there was no reason to break the boat. We think, yes, we want to do well in the race, but we also it was more important.
And we didn't want to blow out a spinnaker too. Yeah. Like break the mast, blow out a spinnaker. Yeah. All that stuff adds up too.
Yeah. It was more important to finish the race fully intact.
Yeah.
than anything else.
Exactly. The place didn't matter for that race.
Yeah,
it was just checking the box, had to do that one race of the season.
Yeah. So we definitely sailed that race very conservatively. I remember coming into the finish line and we were debating, like, should we put the cut up? Should we not? Like, and we're like, nope, we're here just to finish the race.
So I almost thought about it.
I know it was a little painfully slow because I think a boat passed us at the end because they did have their kite up, but in all reality, like, we just needed to finish that race to make sure that you were.
And that spinnaker we would have put up is the one that I'm going to be bringing out on the Mini Transat. So I didn't want to blow that one up.
So you don't need to blow that one up. So the second day, Saturday, so the second race, we pushed it a little bit more. And so we did,
which I think we could because it wasn't squall conditions. No. It was strong wind, but it wasn't squalls though.
Yeah.
Which the squalls are just so hard to predict what's actually going to happen because it'll be blowing 25 knots and then all of a sudden be blowing 40 to 45 knots.
Yeah.
But that second part of that leg, it was, okay, we got 20, 25 knots, but it's consistent. It's not squalls coming through.
Yeah. Really rough sea state though.
Yeah.
Because it had been blowing 35 to 40 all day on Friday. And so, because that's really when the like brunt, like the main part of the front came through. And so the sea state was pretty nasty and kind of all over the place, I feel like. But once we rounded Ile de Gouague, like went south, we just had that beautiful spinnaker run for it felt like 4 to 5 hours, I think. Yeah,
it was awesome. But then that was also going into Quiberon Bay, which Quiberon Bay, trying to get in there with getting the tides right and also not running aground with the spinnaker up. That's always a little fun when you're going 10, 12 knots downwind. Yeah. And you're trying not to hit the rocks because there's literally rocks all around getting into that bay.
Yeah, but we successfully navigated through the channel with the kite up.
And there's boats wiping out all around us too.
Yeah, and we would be like, oh, watch, like it was quite the spectacle. But
it was one of those things where you can't go forward. You can't go forward in the cockpit. You got to stay all the way in the back.
Oh yeah. So, but I mean, we did a really good job. I think we only had one wipe out the whole time, if that. It wasn't even that big. Like that boat recovers so quickly. And she's really got some true telltale signs when she's about to wipe out, and so you're able to correct it beforehand.
Oh, exactly.
Which is really nice. And so, so we had that beautiful downwind leg, and then we round the bottom of Belle
Isle, yeah,
and then
start sailing upwind in heavy air.
Well, then we had a nice beam reach. I think we put the code 0 up for that.
Oh no, it was upwind on the western side of the island. It was all pounding upwind.
No, we went down.
Oh, you're right.
And
right.
Then we had like a beam
we dropped
reach.
The spinnaker, switched to the code 0.
Yeah, and we had a nice, just like a drag race.
Yeah. And that was about that was like 3 or 4 miles to code 0.
Yeah.
Which went by really fast.
Super fast. But we passed.
Yeah, we passed some boats, which was nice. Yeah. Always good.
And then we round the next mark, and it is an upwind slog. So that beautiful downwind and everything, it was upwind the rest of the way.
And looking at it, it's like it's going to be upwind like this for the next 12 hours. Was kind of the mindset going into that leg.
And that boat upwind, it's not pleasant, like we've said before. It's like every wave you're slamming and the whole boat shudders. And I'm not worried about the integrity of the boat whatsoever. I know it can handle it.
Just your spine.
Yeah, it's physically it just shakes you.
Well, and then talk to the tacking too. Do you remember every time we had to tack the boat?
Oh yeah, down below. So every time you tack the boat, you have to move all the gear down below, and so you're taking 10 liters of water, so essentially 30 pounds every time, and moving it from one side to the next and clipping it in or tying it in, and then you also have the anchor and all the food and gear, everything. You're trying to move it up to the windward side, and so yeah, and at this point, I think we did a lot of hand driving.
Yeah.
This race more so than I thought we would have.
Well, because the boat's faster when you're steering. If it's the right conditions, the boat's faster when you're hand steering.
And the breeze had picked up at that point. I think we had a reef in the main, and then at some point we put a second reef in the main. So it was. I mean, a reef. I think we had a reef in the jib too.
At some point, I think we might have. Yeah.
Because it was like 18 to 20, going upwind. And we have the sea state against us, and so it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
So did you enjoy tacking everything down below?
No, I did not enjoy that.
I think I ended up doing it every time.
No, I did it 2 or 3 times.
Until you started getting a little nauseous from it.
Yeah, and then I started, I do get seasick. And so I told you, I was like, this is not happening. Yeah. I'm not doing this anymore. because it was just too much. Because I didn't want to wipe myself out or take myself out for the entire race by getting seasick.
And we knew we had a whole night coming into that.
Yeah.
So
we had a long night coming in, and so.
Oh, do you remember that? So we kept on sailing that whole night, and then coming to the finish line. Do you remember what that was like?
Yes, vividly. So the channel coming into L'Orient is kind of narrow, and it's got obstructions and they're old parts of like lighthouses or forts or marks or something, and so they're all over the place. And so coming into that channel, we are short tacking back and forth. The breeze is dropping out, so we're at like we're averaging breezes like 3.5, 4, 5 knots. And so the breeze has really dropped out at this point. So our tacking, we're looking at our GPS tracker, and the breeze is like, our tacking angles are looking good coming in, the short tacks. And then all of a sudden our angles are looking worse. And then they look awful. Like now we're just beam reaching across the channel.
It was so painful.
And then
frustrated.
It was so frustrating. Then we get within sight of the race committee boat, and the race committee boat has the biggest white light on it, like so bright, and it's aimed down so where you can see the bow and the anchor line, and you could see a bow wake on the anchored boat because the outgoing tide was so strong, and that's what was causing us to beam reach across the finish line. And it took us an extra almost an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably, 3.5 knots of current?
Yeah, it was 3.5 knots of current with 3.5 knots of wind.
Yeah.
We could not make any headway. And so we beam reached across that finish line.
Well, we could make headway when we went into the shallow spot. So you remember, we actually went past the finish line, but not through it because it was shallow water. So we went past it, tacked over, tried to basically go around the stern of the race committee boat, the finish line boat, and we couldn't even get up to the finish line.
But that's ultimately how we did finish.
I think on the second or third try of doing that.
Yeah, because we didn't come in with enough down current speed to hook underneath the committee. But that's when we finally did, and that's how we got across the finish line. But then it took us another 40 minutes just to clear the finish line because the current was still like pushing us back.
It was us and 2 other boats were sitting there right on the finish line, and we couldn't even get away from it.
Yeah, we couldn't even get away from it. And so then we finally the current's like slowing down because then we're finally able to like crawl away from it. And it's still pitch black out because I think we finished at like 4 a.m, something.
I think 4 or 5, maybe 5.
5 in the morning, because the sun isn't up yet. We finally cleared the finish line, and we're just trying to get into the shallows to like get some headway towards the harbor, thinking that somebody's going to come and tow us in. Boat doesn't show up for another hour.
Yeah.
And so we're just sitting out there like, you hadn't slept the entire time.
And we have no motors on this boat because when we're racing, we're not allowed to have a motor on the boat. Yeah. So you can't just turn the motor on and motor back into the dock.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was another 1.5 miles to the dock.
Yeah.
Easy. If not 2. I almost think it was 2 because you had to go past the port.
Probably about 2 miles.
Yeah. About 2 miles. And so and there's a very narrow part, and at low tide, it's almost too narrow to tack with the breeze direction we had. And so we waited for a tow and then finally got the tow in, and we're exhausted.
Yeah.
That was a long
race.
It was a long race.
Yeah. Short race overall compared to some of the other races, but it felt really long just because of, I mean, if it's an overnight race, you're not sleeping at all. So it feels like forever when you get to the finish line too.
I think it ended up being 18 hours?
Something like that. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good recap on the last 1,000 miles that you've done on the boat, which is more than most Americans have sailed on a Mini. So congratulations on that. But let's transition a little bit. So one thing that I'm kind of curious about, shifting gears here, is what is the most common question that people usually ask you specifically about this campaign? So I know a lot's happened over the last couple of years, but what do people normally ask you about this campaign?
Well, they know that we're together, and so I think they really look at it they asked me, like, how do I feel about you doing this solo 4,000-mile transatlantic race? And my answer has always been from the very start and continues to be that if I wasn't confident in your skills in doing this race, I wouldn't be supporting you as much as I do. Like from the very start, like we've sailed quite a bit together and we've raced a lot together too. In dinghies, not just the Mini. And so
done J70s and August 15, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And so like, I know we get along really well. I know your skills. I know you're more than competent to do this race, but also that you have a very good, like, level-headedness about you. And you think through situations. You're not going to make a rash decision that puts yourself, the boat, or somebody else in danger. And I think that comes a lot from your military training. But I think there's a lot of factors that play into my comfort in you doing this race. Granted, yes, there's always that bit of fear. I mean, you're out there solo and things can happen. We hear about it, and other people going missing and everything. Like, yes, that fear is always there. When those fears start to creep in, I try and push them away. So I don't want to ignore them, but I don't need to give them more life than they already have.
So when you talk about that, what's it like when I'm doing a solo race? What is that experience like for you or a lot of other maybe family members that are following me when I'm out there?
Yeah. So the other races that are like more coastal, it's much more comforting because you're coastal. I can track you on AIS. If your GPS tracker doesn't work, but your GPS tracker has always worked. And so that's fine. The race to the Azores was super interesting. So the class Mini, the class in itself does a really great job in making sure everybody is safe. I think that safety is probably their number one priority. I think it definitely is. They spend 3 to 4 days, sometimes 5 for larger fleets, leading up to the start of every race, doing safety inspections on board each Mini. And there's 1 to 2 safety officers that are physically on the boat looking through everything. And you have to go through, I observed it when we were in Lorient, like you have to pull out every single item on this list. And this list is long. It's 3.5 pages long of the different items you need to have on board. You can be tasked to like pull out your life raft within 15 seconds, and you need to be able to demonstrate that on the drop, like at the moment's notice. And then also for the longer race for the Azores, you also had follow along boats. So there was 3
support boats,
cruising boats.
Yeah.
That went with the fleet. Like one went ahead of the fleet so that when the protos like took off, the protos were closer to that one. And then when you had one in the middle of the fleet and one in the back of the fleet. And so they're there to act as like first responders to any situations, because when you're out in the middle of the ocean, we know that your rescue boats are going to take longer. So they're equipped with extra water, like life jackets, food, like something that if they have to pick a mini sailor up, they're able to do that. And you're also going to have those follow along boats with the Mini Transat. Yeah.
And it's hard because they're not always within VHF range. They're not always close by, but at least they're a couple hundred miles away and not 1,000 miles away.
Yeah. Yeah. And your GPS tracker, like you've got your EPIRB, and you've got your PLB and everything. Like there's a lot of redundancy in the emergency equipment, but hey, I'd rather you have redundancy in that than anything else. In reality, like it's because if one thing doesn't go off, another thing will, and if that doesn't go off, something else will. Like, and that's the great thing. And I think that gives me a lot of comfort. I know it gives your mom a lot of comfort in this. And so I think that's what I think a lot of people like. They just not knowing fully about the class is really how much safety goes into this. In that this class really makes sure is put into place before you guys leave the shore. No,
I think that's a great answer to that. But also, I'm sure it's also hard watching the tracker sometimes when you hitting refresh, and trying to see like, why are you going left and not going right now, or what's going on? And
Yeah.
I'm sure that's frustrating as someone watching it too.
It's stressful.
Yeah.
It's very stressful, and I do have to remind myself, you don't have the latest weather files. I can see what the weather's like.
Yeah, we're not getting drip files out there. We're just getting a forecast that's a voice radio forecast from the race committee every day. Yeah.
Like 150-mile radius, like, forecast.
What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And so, like, I do have to remind myself that. And then also trying to explain to everybody else, like, following along on social media, like, like, I know you very well. And so, like, your thought process and what you're doing based on the forecast, and then what forecast you may have received and what you're doing with that. And so, like, trying to relay that to everybody else. But it's definitely watching you on the tracker coming back from the Azores was, I think, one of the most difficult ones. I thought I knew something was wrong. I always have, I guess, this like sixth sense when something goes wrong, and I can just like something happens on the tracker, you change direction a little bit, or something funky happens, and I know it. But when you're coming back from the Azores and you had that solid heading down to La Rochelle, and I'm like, oh no, like his GPS isn't working.
Which also, heading towards La Rochelle is not that far away. Like, it's not that many degrees off. It was like 10 degrees off from where I was trying to get to.
I wouldn't even say it's that much. It was maybe 5.
Yeah.
But
on the tracker, it looks like a lot more.
Yeah. And so, but at that point, I think that was when you were hove too.
Yeah.
And so you were just really staying in the same spot, just slowly drifting. And so, yeah. But it was just like, it's nerve wracking just watching it and just reminding myself, like, if something was actually wrong, like you'd set off one of the systems. So, because I know you always clip in.
Yep.
And I know you always wear your life jacket.
Yep. And all my life jacket, I have my PLB and my personal EPIRB and all that stuff. And I'm going to have VHF radio connected on there too. So, so basically the big thing is I'm going to have 2 different ways of detection. So one through satellites, one through AIS. And then I'm also going to have a VHF radio attached to my life jacket at all times too. Yeah. So between those things, if anything happens.
Yeah. Well, the AIS, we can only see the AIS when you're around somebody else that's transmitting.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But it's quicker. It's quicker to get caught up though. Yeah. It's quicker for people to see me on AIS. But in case no one is around AIS, then it's just GPS.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So no, I think that was great talking about some of the safety aspects. But I'm curious, what do you find interesting about the Class Mini and the Mini Transat? So thinking maybe boat specific potentially. I know we just talked about the safety inspections and there's a long qualification process that they adhere to and all of that. I think is really interesting side.
Yeah.
But from the boat side, what do you really find interesting about the minis? Or what do you like maybe?
What I like, I think it's a really stable platform. Somebody that's looking to get into some like serious offshore racing at a reasonable price and to not have to depend on like putting together a massive team for logistics and cost wise, like the Mini is it. That boat is literally built to go across oceans. And it does successfully every 2 years. And I think, and that's what's so cool about it. And like having put about 1,000 miles on the boat, like I trust the boat. I understand, like I know the limitations and like, and the boat's not that fun and no breeze, or like no wind. But when the breeze is on, and even if there's just like 10 knots, like the boat comes alive.
Yeah.
And not like out of control alive, but alive where you're like fully in control. And
the 2 rudders help with that a lot.
Yeah. And like, and the boat gets balanced and you can get to the point where you've got the kite up and you're reaching along and you're like, even if you have the autopilot off, like the boat can drive really well. And I think it's a great platform to get into offshore sailing. I think we were really disappointed to see when World Sailing didn't choose the double-handed offshore as the new Olympic format, or one of the new ones for sailing, because we both agreed that the Mini would have been.
Oh my god, the Mini would have been awesome! Can you imagine the newer Minis and have it be all the same kind of Mini? And
it would be so cool. I mean, the Mini class is exploding already, and then make it an Olympic sport, like holy cow! But I mean, that it's the perfect boat because it's small enough. It fits into a container. Your rig is 35 feet in length. That fits into a container. Like you've got everything right there, and it would have been the perfect platform. So, if it still becomes, we've already got a leg. So
exactly. No, that's great. All right, so shifting gears a little bit more. So I know a lot of people want to support this campaign and they want to help out. What do you tell people that want to support, and what's the best way they can help us out or help this campaign out going forward?
Yeah. Well, I know you do not like asking people for money, which
That's true. I'm really bad at it. I don't enjoy it.
Really bad at it, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when running a campaign where we're solely running off of donations and sponsors, we do need to ask for money. And so
I mean, it's hard. It's hard asking people.
It
I mean,
is.
a lot of these people are your friends and your family, and you don't want to ask people for help. Like, I personally don't enjoy asking people for help. It's not fun. Like, I don't enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
I know. So I think that's like the biggest part. Like, there's.
And then what do you tell some people? Like, we do have some sponsors that are supporting this campaign. They're awesome. What do you tell them with that, where we have some sponsors, but we're also looking for donations?
Yeah.
How does that whole aspect come together?
Yeah. So the sponsors, Faucets has been a sponsor primarily of an in-kind, and bought new set of sails and some other gear for the boat.
A lot of the equipment. Yeah.
Actually, the majority of the equipment on board, Faucets has come
everything from a lot of the safety gear, life rafts, EPIRB, PLB, life jackets, to getting connections with Gill, also with the Gill Fire weather gear, and then also connections with New England Ropes, which New England Ropes just provided a lot of new ropes that I'm flying over with me for replacing almost all of the lines on the boat. Mm-hmm. And so, but they got me connected with New England Ropes because they sell that in their store. So they've connected, Harkin also as well. So they've connected us with a lot of different companies to help get the equipment. Yeah. But there's so many different operational costs, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's what's crazy that sneaks up on us so quickly and how fast that adds up. And that it's the housing, it's the food, the transportation, the Airbnbs, because we try and stay on the boat. Like, we try and penny pinch as much as we can, but we don't sacrifice your health and safety.
Health and safety. That's a big part of it.
And so I think that's like, we definitely make sure you're in an Airbnb when you need to leading up to a race. But there are many nights and weeks working on the boat where you have just crashed on the boat.
Yeah.
Like, I think,
no, absolutely.
And that's where, yes, that's a savings there, but ultimately, we don't want to sacrifice your mental state going into a race. And so we do spend for a reasonable accommodations to house you.
But it's always the cheapest Airbnbs around. And then we also found out if you sign up for an Airbnb for more than 28 days, you get a huge discount on it too. Yeah. So we're getting Airbnbs for the fraction of getting a hotel room somewhere too.
Yeah. And you cook a lot when you're over in France. Yeah. Which is great.
So it's all those things. Yeah. And so that's some of the operational costs. It just adds up really fast when, what I'm doing right now, I can't do a full-time job here at the U.S. and do a Mini Transat campaign. So there's no way to directly fund this by, working 5 days a week here in Annapolis and just going over for, a week here, a week there. I have to go over for a couple months at a time to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's,
but we've had a lot of support so far, though.
We have. We've had a lot of support from friends and family and strangers. Yeah. And I think that's the coolest part. And with you sailing as an ambassador for U.S. Patriot Sailing, I think I'm a huge fan of the organization, and I know what they've done for what a huge part that organization has been in your life. And I think it's been cool to see the reach of that organization increase since you've started this campaign or started to trying to bring more awareness of the campaign or of the organization to other people. Getting
new people into the team, getting new donors, getting another boat donated.
Yeah.
That J109 was donated to an Annapolis team directly because of someone knowing about this campaign.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we might have another boat donated.
Potentially. Can't say too much about that right now. But if it all goes through, we might have a second boat donated because of people knowing about this campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a really cool part of all this, is that your goal to raise awareness for U.S. Patriot Sailing is coming to fruition with all of this. Yeah. And in a tangible way. But there's still a lot of expenses and bills to pay.
So how can people donate then?
It's been great. U.S. Patriot Sailing has been able to set up ways to donate directly to your campaign, but have it be a tax deductible donation through U.S. Patriot Sailing. And so, because you're sailing as an ambassador for the team and you're directly involved with the team and going through the proper channels and everything, they've been able to set up a way that people can make tax deductible donations on the website that it can be designated directly to you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Yeah, so on the website, you just click the button, terminal leave, PGN Ocean Racing, Mini Transat. You click that button, the money goes to this campaign. Also, I've talked to a couple people too where if you want to write a check from yourself or another foundation, you can write that check to U.S. Patriot Sailing and let us know, contact us. We'll help you get it to the program. And that can get also put towards this campaign as well. Yeah. And then we have another way too is a GoFundMe page, which I started before I was even able to set up the donations through U.S. Patriot Sailing. And so we still have that going. So people are still donating through the GoFundMe. If that's easier for you, go for it. Yeah. If it's easier doing through U.S. Patriot Sailing, go for that. It's really, as the donor, what's easier for you or what do you want? Do you want to just go through a GoFundMe or do you want a tax deductible donation? Like, it's all on the donor. So a couple of different ways to donate. I think it's a great way to do it.
But also reach out if somebody has questions.
Just ask. Yeah. Peter at pgnoceanracing.com or Jane at pgnoceanracing.com. Jane has her own email account as well. Yeah. Just let us know if there's a way that you want to donate to support this campaign, but you don't know how, just ask. Yeah. It's a huge part of it.
Yeah. It's, and anything helps really. And
it all helps.
Anything and all helps. And we're so incredibly, eternally grateful to everybody that has donated to this campaign and supported this campaign in one way or another. And even just telling a friend about it, I think has been huge, and creating a bigger network and support group around you, and supporting you as the only American in this race out of 90 boats, I think has been huge. Because it's not only are you the only American, you are a 10-year veteran of the Marine Corps now as a reservist, doing this.
Technically 13 years now.
13 years. Yeah. I guess 3 years reserve. Yeah. 10 years active duty, 3 years on reserve, but military veteran and doing this race. Yeah. And so trying to get everybody behind you and support you. And I've been saying this from the start. It's an open invite to the start. If anybody wants to come, reach out to me. I'll help coordinate logistics for you. I can't wait to see you get towed out of the La Sable d'Olonne, the port, and all of the entire city and all these people in France there cheering you guys on, because it is so much a spectacle. News crews.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. And so, was it, at the Route de Rhum this past November, Marcon was supposed to be there for the start, but the start was delayed. So that messed up the whole schedule. But these offshore races are no small thing in France. They are massive. They draw crowds, they draw thousands. And actually was it Route de Rhum was it 3 million people go through the race village?
A lot. I just remember it was millions.
Millions of people go through the race village in 10 days. That's insane. Yeah. And so I want to get as many people waving an American flag there for you as you get towed out of the harbor.
September 24th.
I know, September 24th. It's coming so fast. Yeah. That's also, I still pinch myself that it's here, 3 years.
Less than 40 days. After 3 years of this campaign, we're down to less than 40 days. I know. It's a lot.
What are we going to do after this?
Well, as we wrap this up, I actually have one last question. Okay. So as we finish this interview up, the last question I really wanted to ask you was, what do you see for the future after the Mini Transat, and both short term and then also long term? What are you thinking?
Yeah. Well, short term. So I'm going to be there at every stop. So I'll be there at the start in France, and then I will be there in the Canaries when you land. And I will be there for a few days, and then I'll come back to the States and I'll work for 2 weeks, and then I'll fly back to the Canaries for your departure, with about a week before your departure to help you with any boat work that you may have. And then I'll be home for a week, and then I will fly down to Guadeloupe and meet you down in Guadeloupe. Really excited for that, and excited for the party to ensue when you make it there. And then
I can finally relax when I get there and actually enjoy part of it too,
Yeah. I'm excited to see you relax and to experience that sense of accomplishment with you. And then from Guadeloupe, we have plans to sail the boat back to Miami. So, why ship it when you can sail it, right?
Yeah. So we're going to do double-handed delivery from Guadeloupe up to Miami, which how many miles was that? Did we say it was 1,400?
Yeah, about 1,400 miles ish.
Plus or minus a couple hundred?
Yeah. So
depending on how many islands we stop at.
Yeah. So it'll depend on how many islands we stop at. So if anybody has any good recommendations or like connections down there, please let us know. This is literally bare bones cruising.
Yeah. And then, there's no head, there's no galley. It's not
jet boil in a bucket.
Yeah. It's not the most comfortable cruising, but we're going to get the boat up there.
This is no glamping by any chance.
Yeah.
This is more camping than actual camping, I think.
Yeah. And so we're going to go to Miami. We're going to haul the boat out that winter because I don't want to go around Hatteras in the wintertime, obviously. And then, so we're going to haul it out. In February, I have a talk planned at the Coral Reef Yacht Club, which we're hoping to haul the boat out in that area near there. Yeah. So if you're a member of Coral Reef or you live in Miami, let us know, and you should come and check out the talk I'm going to give in February. And then in the spring, I'm going to put the boat back in the water, and I'm going to sail the boat from Miami back up to Annapolis to bring the boat back home. So this is an Annapolis boat. It's been here its whole life. I want to bring it back to the area. I'm going to sail it, and we're going to bring it into downtown Annapolis, Ego Alley, and have a little welcome home ceremony there.
More than just a ceremony,
party. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be an awesome event. Trying to get the mayor there. The mayor saw the boat before it left. So get the mayor there. Yep. Hopefully get the governor there, who is a Army veteran also. So it'd be great to have him come and support U.S. Patriot Sailing and the welcome home party there, and have the boat come into Annapolis and show everyone the boat. Because so many people have been following this, but haven't actually been able to see the boat at all because it's been over in France the last couple of years. Yeah. So it'll be great. And then once the boat's back here, I'm going to continue to sail it in the Annapolis area, take out a lot of the veterans that are part of U.S. Patriot Sailing, take them sailing, show them the boat, talk through the experiences that I had out there, and really share it with as many people as I can. Because that's the ultimate goal of it.
Yeah. Well, and then one thing that you have talked about since day one that you cannot wait to do is the race to Oxford.
I know. I'm doing all these miles on this boat just to do a 35-mile race from Annapolis to Oxford. That's all I really want to do.
That's all you really want to do with this boat.
I want to get nor'easter, put the kite up, head down the bay, make that left turn, put the code 0 up, reach in. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. But a typical race to Oxford is like 1 to 2 knots of breeze.
Hopefully not. If it's 1 to 2 knots, it won't be good for the boat. But if it's a good nor'easter, it's going to be awesome on the boat. And that's really what I want to do.
It'll be an epic nor'easter in August for you. So
we'll see. Well, there's the fall and there's the spring Oxford. There's a couple of different Oxford races you can do. But yeah, you're right. That is exactly what I want to do on the boat. Is the Oxford race. Yeah. No, definitely. So all right. So that's all the questions I really have. Is there anything that I haven't asked you or anything that we haven't talked about that you want to share with everyone?
Just making a shameless plug for the Magenta Project.
Oh yeah, definitely. Please do.
Yeah, so the past year I've served as a mentor for the Magenta Project, which is an incredible international nonprofit, which is helping to develop and facilitate opportunities for women in the sport and industry of sailing, to really help them get more exposure, whether that be in foiling, in different classes, races. So served as a mentor this past year and had an incredible time, and I'm planning on serving as a mentor again, but then also was able to take part in one of the opportunities that they offered to the members of the Magenta Project, which was I was paired with an AMOCA team for the start of the Route to Rome. So last year, November, I went to France for myself.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Which was great. I wasn't over there helping you.
I know.
I was helping
doing your own thing.
Boat work. But I was paired with DMG Mori sailing team, which was incredible, with Kajiro on the AMOCA and the team, and just had a blast working with the team, both in the technical side, but then also the hospitality side, and shadowed the operations team manager there on quarantine and had an incredible time. Just met the whole team, and they welcomed me with open arms. And so through this whole thing, the past 3 years, and so that was thankful to the Magenta Project. And so if you're interested in the Magenta Project, they're always looking for incredible mentors. If you think you have a unique experience or skill set that you can offer the program, please look them up. The Magenta Project, I think,
.org? Is it?
It's a UK organization, but if you
Google Magenta Project,
just Google the Magenta Project.
It's a great organization.
Yeah, it's an incredible organization, and they're also looking for major sponsors too, and so to help fund some of these opportunities. And so, but needless to say, so to bring all of that back to what helping to help you run this campaign for the last 3 years has really showed me is that I've always known I love the logistics and like the strategical side of things. And this whole campaign really solidified that. And then working with the DMG Mori sailing team, really showed me that I would love to help manage a team someday. And I love the backing, like making sure everybody's where it needs to be at a certain point, and where boats and parts and everything like that. I love making sure that things work well behind the scenes, so that the team can execute and be successful. And so hopefully someday, when your Vendée project is ready to go,
that is the dream. That is Vendée Globe. That is the dream.
No, that's your dream. So that I'm there to, I will be there to help you manage that team. So, but in the meantime, I think any opportunity to be able to help manage a team or work with a team would be incredible. So always open to that.
No, that's great. Well, I think it's time to close this out. Jane, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast for the first interview on the Mini Transat mission. Thank you for joining me, and thank you so much for all of your support over the last couple of years with this campaign. I would not be where I am without your help, and without the help of so many awesome donors as well too. So thank you for everyone. But with that, that's it for episode number 6. And remember, everyone, I know we just talked about it a few minutes ago, but if you want to support this campaign, you can donate through uspatriotsailing.org with tax-deductible donations, or through my GoFundMe page. And you can find both those on pgnoceanracing.com. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you might be listening to this, definitely hit the follow or subscribe button and leave a review. And then finally, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, at pgnoceanracing.com. Sorry, not .com, just at pgnoceanracing. Yeah. There's too many things to remember here. And then also sign up for the email. So I do email updates on my website, pgnoceanracing.com. I do new sit rep emails or blog posts, updates, keep people updated. And then while I'm racing, Jane's going to be keeping everyone updated as well through that, letting you guys kind of give you some little inside knowledge on what's going on with the race beyond just what the tracker shows. So sign up for those email updates. Yeah, and I'll be doing email updates and social media updates, and kind of keeping people up to date on what's happening on the tracker and where you are, weather systems, what's going on. And we'll have extensively talked about your strategy going into the race beforehand, and so that I can kind of break that down while you're out there. That's going to be a huge part of it. And then, as always, let me know what you guys want to hear about on this podcast. Happy to talk through any topics. And then with that, I think it's time to go pack and head to France tomorrow. I got a lot of packing I got to do. I know. It's going to be a late night. I got so much to pack. All right. But hey, everyone, thank you so much for listening. And this is the Mini Transat mission.